Hello, it's JK. Thank you so much for clicking and watching my video again with curiosity and kindness. I'm a lifelong learner, language learner, want to be science coach, and great thinker. This is my Learning Log channel. I hope I can grow with you, sharing my learning journey with mentors who can give me an advice and helps about my curious and impulsive questions. Today, I'm talking about project-based learning. One of my morning routine is listening a podcast. One day, I listening 10-minute teacher podcast by Vicki Davis. If you do not know about this channel yet, I strongly recommend this channel. I love her accent because I know that I never can copy this cool accent. On that memorable day, John Spencer was the guest on the show. He caught my attention, dropped me into his own podcast. It blew my mind because I found some question answer stories I was thinking all the time. Spencer shared his big mistakes on his PBL journey on podcasts. Unlike he planned, everyone in the classroom started to wander and slink out of classwork. Some students had a hard time to focus. He expected some level of chaos, but it was not controlled at all he wanted. That was exactly my problems. I did not know I was doing PBL, but it turned out I intended to do somewhat PBL or project. These are my questions when I started this video. How could I deliver lesson more organized and efficiently but still fun and creatively? And what is a PBL driven class? Is it worth it and efficient to do it? Why should the presentation or not be visual, and how much is enough? It's just a technical question I come up with. Number 2 questions I want to start with. Whatever I start to study, I always am caught up with this kind of a question. Question is sticking for the definitions. I thought I know what PBL is, but all of a sudden, do I know this? So I started to study again. I do not believe saying if you cannot explain, that's not what you knew. However, knowing the definition always helps. PBL means project-based learning. Here are the list of design element and benefit of PBL. The biggest difference I understood is that PBL is a learning process through the project. Oftentimes, project was given after they haven't been taught the concept, but in PBL, students are learning while they're doing the project. Also, one pop quiz said that if a project does not have a real audience, that does not be a PBL, which I do not agree, but I got the big idea. You can see the 7 components of a PBL and 8 benefits of a PBL. Every items are pretty self-explanatory except a couple of them. I thought about each component and highlighted. One seems unique to only with the yellow. Component highlighted with the green is that I'm confused. I started to connect the line between the design element and benefit of a PBL to see connection more clearly. Some of the component does not seem too new or unique to me comparing to the other types of a lesson. I think student voice and choice, authenticity, empowerment, maker mindset sounds a little unique to PBL. For example, system thinker. I did not know what it means. When I look it up, it says system thinking is a holistic way to investigate factors in interaction that could contribute to a possible outcome. A mindset more than a prescribed practice. System thinking provide an understanding of how individuals can work together in different types of teams, and through the understanding, create the best possible processes to accomplish just about anything. Based on what I understand, it might be a situation like students figure that each part to collaborate and analyze every steps to understand the whole picture. The reason I highlighted the public product with the green was because I cannot see the clear reasoning for this element. I can see this element makes it everything more realistic, so students get real feedback consequences. However, do we really always need a public feedback or for our thinking in genuine situation? I feel like I might misinterpret this purpose of element, mislead or of the real intention in authenticity. Please give me more advice and insight for this part. Here is the diagram from pblworks.org. If you're not familiar with PBL, is looking for tips and ideas. This site is a treasure box. I like the right side but diagram because it specifies the component of a teaching practice like a checklist. Many teachers might already know and consider this, but it seems very universal and handy. In back of my head, I'm always thinking either it should be somewhat noisy when students are excited, or perfectly planned classroom or lesson can never genuinely fun. My dilemma exactly overlapped with Mr. Spencer. I started to find more answers. Answers are practical and sounds reasonable to me. This is the brief scheme. How I want to plan PBL after research. I learned that every step could be an opportunity for teacher to invite and engage a student to be more authentic and involved. For example, when I set up a driving question, I'm going to plan a discussion or idea talk. As the hard questions, is it worthy and efficient? I know teachers always have too much stuff on their plates, lots to cover, new strategy, new luster of the classroom, differentiation and accommodation, teamwork, and etc. On the pile of everything, it is worth it or efficient to do project-based learning. This question I came across helped me think about my status in PBL journey. Even though I was stuck at almost every question at one point, the more I tried, the bigger my interest and passion grew. The most important key factor to me was genuinity. Does this project serve a student in a practical and real world? Or can I make a visible connection my project to their life or a life challenge? When I say clicking the moment, it was a big reward. For example, I have a hard time to buy the bridge project the many school districts include for their project-based learning program. I can see that they could learn a ratio calculation and extra skills, knowledge students could implement. I saw other bridges were made by parents for showcase in a mega scale and open house. Some of them do not look like even using a ratio. Thinking students who love building things, passion for architecture, it must be an interesting activity, but not sure it is a PBL. Based on the component of a PBL I mentioned earlier, it seems like a dessert, not the main dish. Even though I'm not sure about the necessity of a real audience part. But still, I can see lots of effort from teachers, for sure. The idea of making a bridge itself may not be the problem, considering the fact whether they're going to learn the ratio or not. It may not be a bad idea for just doing worksheet. Can we doing PBL on the paper or a thinking activity? For high school students, many of them do not like projects because they are too busy to do those big projects. There seems to be many reasons. They require a lot of time, need to do group work. Noticeably, some of them don't want to work. They prefer to work solo. Do not enjoy the group work. They rather just want to practice a simple math problem in such a short amount of time and with a little amount of effort, directly connecting to the problem and test. Parents do not help them anymore. So I was thinking about substitute idea. I rather like the idea that students can learn ratio when they have a bake 100 cupcakes for bake sale when they have a recipe for 10 cakes. The reason I like this is simply because this event is likely happening in their real life. So then at this moment. So then my dilemma is, what about challenging imagination to unknown and or unexplored possibility or interest? So my solution was one time that giving them more choice, students can choose their situation using ratio in upscale. So do they like it? No. Students have a hard time to get the idea of a situation they're going to use the ratio concept. They either copied off other students' ideas. There were rarely new ideas. The blank page could sometimes worst idea for many students. I learned it that to have a successful PBL, teacher need to need to work a lot prior steps and after steps, including setting clear expectation, genuine motivation, understanding students' interest. PBL itself must be a very interesting, valuable learning style, but not sure it fits to every situation and students. The big lessons was PBL should be repeated to learning something like the any other learning. We learn more from reflection, reviewing, redoing. I do not have. Unfortunately, I do not have a 100% successful recipe for every situation student, but I admire the teachers who do and see the value of a PBL, put efforts to accomplish. Big takeaways. I want to replace my 3 big takeaways with these 3 quotes that I also designed new procedures because PBL is so different. I need to think differently about our classroom procedure. This included everything from how we would distribute supplies to how I would get student attention to what the noise level would be. We then practiced these procedures together as a class, and I asked for student feedback periodically on our procedure. By John Spencer. PBL is a main dish, project is a dessert. It's from pblworks.org. Driving question helps to initiate forcing inquiry. Remember, the project shouldn't be trying to solve the word problems. Educator Andrew Miller from BIE. Here is more questions. After I studied a little bit about PBL, can anyone answer my questions? What if one element is missing? What if not everyone wants to be a thinker or maker? Second option, how to deal with the time limitation or anxiety for failure students decide, efficiency versus genuinity. How does it should be a big problem? Couldn't it be a small problem? What is the difference between inquiry-based learning and PBL? Thank you so much for watching my video again. I used the Canva design for my slide. I got the idea, a lot of it from pbl.org and John Spencer's website and podcast. See you next time.